Good morning. Okay, I'm going to take a few minutes and go over some of the information that we covered at back to school night for those of you that were not able to be there. So this video is for general chemistry, which is it's period 4, which is our after lunch period. And the scheduled time for that, ooh, hang on, I'm finding it because it's a little bit different this year, is 1 to 2:10 p.m. Okay, so general chemistry after lunch, 1 to 2:10 p.m. I'm not going to cover everything in this little video that is in the syllabus because I expect you to have read the syllabus and signed it. So you need to read the syllabus. We'll talk about where you can find it in just a minute. You need to pull off the last, print it out, the last page you need to sign. You need to have a parent sign it. And if you're live next week, you need to bring it with you, unless you turned it in last night. And if you are remote next week, you are going to attach it electronically to the assignment in Schoology. Okay, so I'm not going to go over everything in there. Please read through that yourself. The main thing that I want to cover is what my expectation is during the weeks that you are remote. And my strong preference is that you are experiencing the class at the scheduled time remotely. Okay. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that every week we are going to cover important information in general chemistry. I'm going to be lecturing. I'm going to be working problems on the board. I would like you to be present for as much of that as possible. You watching a recorded lecture later does not afford you the same opportunity to engage with your classmates or to ask questions. So, not that you can't ask me questions other times, you can, but my strong preference is that you are live at the scheduled time on your remote weeks. The other thing is it's a small class and we've had to break it even smaller. So for that reason, it will feel more like a classroom setting when those of you that are remote are engaging in the material, okay? So this coming Tuesday, if you're remote, I want to see your faces at 1:10. My plan is to use Zoom. I've purchased the unlimited Zoom time, so I will be, hopefully, Northside has been so kind as to actually buy another router, so my hope and preference is that we will be able to Zoom live at 1 o'clock. Excuse me. If for some reason that does not work, then what will happen is you will be made note of that. I'll send you a text or something, right? The link's not working, you can't get in, and just know that I will record the lecture, okay? So if we ever have an issue where you're not able to connect, whether it's technology on your end or my end, and you can't connect, I want you to know that the lectures will be recorded. My hope is to record them via Zoom and post them later. If that does not work, I will record it via my computer or my phone, and I will post it later that way. But just know that I will be recording every lecture and looking to post that to YouTube for you to watch, okay? So, but my preference is that you're there at 1 o'clock. You do have homework due next Tuesday. So if you have not started it, you probably ought to get on that. You should have joined the class by now. If you have not joined the class by now, you need to get the course code. It's posted in Schoology, and you need to join the class, and you need to then find your homework. Where's your homework? If you've not had a class with me before, let me explain how you're going to find your homework. Okay. There is right now, there are 2 folders uploaded in Schoology for general chemistry. One of them says like Gen Chem general info, right? So that's your syllabus. It's your lab schedule. It's the lab formatting documents. All that is already in the general information folder. And that's all information that doesn't align with one particular chapter in the book, okay? Then there's another folder that says chapter 1. And when you click on that chapter 1 folder, you're going to see a page that says something like Gen Chem homework due 8/18. When you click on that page, it will list out all the assignments you have for next Tuesday. You should be able to knock out that stuff probably in a couple of hours, but you do have homework due in the class next Tuesday. I want you to tackle that work. Okay. The reason is I want you to come to class every week having read the material and being ready to ask questions and to dig into the material with me. If I am your first introduction to the material on a Tuesday, 1, you're going to get home and you're going to think you understand it until you try and do the problems. And then you're going to recognize you don't really understand it. But guess what? The next week we'll be doing something different. So your opportunity to ask questions is now gone, right? So that's one reason. The other reason is that as you dig into the material ahead of time, you're going to have a greater understanding of the information. It's going to enable you to engage differently than if you've never heard of it and you're just listening to me go wah, 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 wah. Okay? So every week you'll be reading the material. You'll come into class with questions. If you have questions as you're reading at home during the week, by all means, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer those questions. It's my hope is to come alongside you and help you as you learn about chemistry. Okay? In this course, we will move more slowly than the honors chemistry course. We will only cover about 2/3 of the chapters that they will cover. Okay? But it is interactive. I do want you to be able to engage. So therefore, make sure you do the reading and chime in at the scheduled time. Okay? While we are meeting at split capacity, we will have labs on Thursday afternoons. In the general, if we move back to being at full capacity at Northside, then we will do experiments in class. But given the reality that any particular week, only half of you are there, it makes it very challenging to navigate experiments. So I have just made the executive decision that while we meet at split capacity, we will have labs on Thursday afternoons from 2, let me check the lab time, 3 to 4. 3 to 4. Usually we do it at my home, but for the reality of needing to be distanced out in some of my larger classes, we are going to do it at the Dean's Barn. If you went to the informal last year, that's where it was. It's out on Petty Lane. Shouldn't be too difficult to get there. I already have a schedule. It's posted in the Chem Gen Info folder, and those are the days that I expect you to be there. It's only 7 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's only 7 times during the year that I'm asking you to do that. If you work part-time, ask for those afternoons off, or at least from 2:30 to 4:15 off, right? And if you have issues with that, I need you to reach out to me as soon as you can, and we'll have to see what to do, because I do need you to do the labs in order to have this be a lab course, and I do not really want somebody doing all the labs on their own, okay? And that would be the other solution, is that you do every lab by yourself. So if you have problems with the labs, let me know. Also, I work very hard not to switch the lab dates, okay? Once I put the lab dates on the calendar, I work very hard to keep those lab dates and honor your schedule and not shifting them around, okay? So the 7 dates, those are the dates we will plan to do labs, okay? Every week that you're remote, in this class, your homework grade is based on you completing the problems. If you complete the problems and they're all wrong, you get 100%, okay? Because I recognize you're reading the material, you're doing the problems before you ever get to class, right? So it's a completion grade. And what'll happen on the weeks that you're remote, you'll just hold up your paper like this, you'll show me all the work, and I'll go, yep, there's all the worked out problems, and you will get full credit. For those of you that are in class, I'll obviously check your work in class and you'll get full credit. So that's how we will check your homework each and every week. I expect that you're spending an hour to an hour and a half, 4 days a week on the material. You're moving at a slower pace. In fact, in some weeks, you may only have 4 pages to read of your actual text. Sometimes there may be additional reading. Oftentimes there'll be additional worksheets. You'll work out a few problems, and then I will give you a worksheet that has additional problems. And you will do those to prepare yourself for the class time, okay? Okay, let me see what else there is. Okay, I do want you to know that I am so grateful that we are meeting, even at split capacity, in person. I'm grateful to Northside that they are welcoming us back. They're doing everything that they know how to do to welcome us into their building. And I'm very, very grateful. I'm praying that we're not at split capacity for that long, but we will trust God with the timing as we navigate this school year, okay? If you have feedback about the remote sessions, I certainly want to hear that. If there are things that are working well, great. If there are things that aren't working well, by all means, reach out and tell me that as well, okay? And we'll see what we can do to make it the best we can make it be. It's definitely going to be challenging in some ways. I know that already. I worship at Lifehouse Church, and we have been studying through the book of Second Corinthians, and we have been in chapter 12 the last couple of weeks, and it really has just become so abundantly clear to me that I have significant weaknesses. It is not in my power to make this year be all that I would like it to be. Like, I just don't have the ability to make this year be all that I would like it to be. And I was struck as I was reading this in Second Corinthians last week. It's talking about Paul's thorn in the flesh. And we don't know what that was. We just know it existed and it was real and it was a difficulty. And of course, Paul asked God to take it away. And God's response to Paul was, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And Paul's response was, "Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me." I have great and significant weaknesses, but I am trusting that God is going to meet each of us in those areas of weakness. And as we trust for his provision and his power through his Spirit, that we will actually have a great year. I'm so excited to see half of you next week and the other half in 2 weeks. If you have any questions as you're working through your homework, please reach out to me. And otherwise, I can't wait to see you next Tuesday, live or remote. See you then.